On MLB crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It's
not my
nice.
team anymore. Not my team. I'm done. I'm out of here, man.
Pete, may I suggest maybe sweep them out?
Keep that in your studio right there, handy.
Prop comedy, baby.
Hold on. You guys drilled us.
Oh, this is eat your heart out, Carrot Top. Eat your heart out. Welcome into the Locked On Phillies, Locked On Dodgers POSTCAST crossover, ladies and gentlemen. That man's name is Pete Fox, of course, of Locked On Los Angeles Dodgers POSTCAST. I, of course, Marc Farzetta, Locked On Phillies POSTCAST here in Philadelphia. And oh my goodness gracious, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. And one thing, I got to give credit to one of the commenters after the show. They said, you didn't even talk about the atmosphere at CBP at Citizens Bank Park, South Philadelphia. I guarantee you I will talk about it. Playoff atmosphere. And I got to give credit to Shohei Ohtani. No matter what, that guy shows up, he's going to bring that type of atmosphere, even if he does happen to take the collar on a night like tonight. I know we'll get into that. But this show tonight is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. This episode of Locked On Phillies and Dodgers crossover POSTCAST brought to you by the great people at Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even a rival's city. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Look, I know, Pete, that I can look at this team, this Phillies team, and be really excited, and I am, about the power and Trey Turner's July that he's having. Kyle Schwarber comes back and hits some Schwab bombs for this Philadelphia Phillies team. Brandon Marsh heats up with his bat as well. You have some great vibes down there at Citizens Bank Park, but I have certainly been on the other side of this before, and I know the Dodgers fans are none too happy with how this one turned out, especially looking at guys that went 0 for 11 that are not supposed to go 0 for 11 in a game.
Yeah, Ohtani, Smith, Freeman, just awful. And Freeman didn't get a hit in this whole series, which is also just unbelievable. And, Dave Roberts, of course, people want to fire Dave Roberts every day, especially our guy, Nando. Fire Dave Roberts. It's always Dave Roberts' fault. But today it was not just Dave Roberts' fault. I think another coach had a big problem with today's game, and that would be Dino Ebel, the third base coach. So for me, this is where the game went south for the Dodgers, right? We usually try to find the breaking point or the pivotal moment of the game. This is where it went south for the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani comes up with the bases loaded and just looks awful. Swinging at curveballs in the dirt, head so far down the first base line. It was like his wife or girlfriend was sitting in the, over top of the dugout. Yeah. But we talked about that a lot here on the podcast. Shohei Ohtani, when he looks bad, it's awful. But just a tick away from that is Shohei Ohtani looking great. Yeah. So I'm okay with the fact that he doesn't watch the ball most of the time and he's flying open, because it can turn into 420-foot home runs, right? But yesterday, he's looked awful. Swinging at bad pitches, just not even watching them, not committing to, hey, I'm going to shorten up when I'm down in the count. No, I'm going to flail at whatever is even close to the zone. It was just awful. But Dino Ebel screwed this game up. You got to send Miggy Rojas on that Gavin Lux single when you are a team that is struggling to score runs. You do not play conservatively. Let your skirt get in the way of scoring runs. What was that all about? I was like, that is going to come back to haunt them, because at that point, it was only 1-0. They would have tied the game. It would have been a completely different mindset. Very shortly after, 2-0. Then the Dodgers are playing from behind, struggling to get back into the game. You got to score that guy, or at least make them beat you. That's just old school baseball. Make the Phillies beat you there. And if they do, you tip your cap and you say good play. But you can't, hold up, because Ohtani's up next. No, awful. Terrible.
All right. Here's what I'll say. As from the Phillies' perspective, I totally thought that run was going to score, because Nick Castellanos, although he's leaps and bounds better than he was 3 years ago in right field, he has really improved his defense in getting to baseballs. The arm is not great, and he caught that ball or stopped that ball, got his mitt on that ball when he was off balance. And I assumed the Dodgers were going to see that. If I could see it, I thought it was pretty obvious. I thought they were going to send the run around to score on that one. They decided, as you put it, rightfully so, they were a little conservative, a lot conservative on that play. And I thought You've been having trouble scoring in this series. You have an opportunity to score a run right there, mostly on Nick Castellanos, and they did not take advantage of that. And then the Phillies made him pay for it with Brandon Marsh's home run in the second inning. They all of a sudden go from a 1-0 lead to a 2-0 lead. So that was certainly, I think, a mistake, and I think you're right to call it out, of the Dodgers. As far as Ohtani goes, though, Pete, oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, there is no denying for me, no denying that. I know that a lot of times it comes to just players speak when they say, I don't care who it is. I'm just trying to throw strikes to get guys out. Bull, okay? Shohei Ohtani is, and we've talked about it last night, is probably the most famous baseball star in the world right now. If he's up at the plate and you're Zach Wheeler in game 1, you're Matt Strahm in game 2, Matt Strahm to tonight's game, you're Aaron Nola in tonight's game as well. Oh, you know what's what. And one of the hardest pitches that Aaron Nola has thrown all year was to Shohei Ohtani when he was actually able to light him up with a fastball that went over 95 miles per hour. That is few and far between. You can't tell me that for Nola tonight, Strahm the last 2 nights, as well as for Zach Wheeler, the adrenaline wasn't pumping while facing Shohei Ohtani. And you can't tell me, especially it wasn't pumping when the crowd at CBP in South Philadelphia was going bananas for the last 3 nights. And I do give credit to the Dodgers. You faced the Dodgers. You know you're facing one of the better teams, obviously, in baseball, certainly one of the better teams in the National League, and you know they're going to bring it. To answer that call and rise to the occasion, that's what winning teams do. Yeah, you're going to have your bumps in the road against the Braves, unfortunately, and the Phillies have had that. There are 2 series so far to this point against the Braves. But when push comes to shove, you face a team like the Dodgers or you face a team like the Brewers a month ago now, you want to be able to step up and rise to the occasion. I thought the Phillies did that very well in this series.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, as we talked about yesterday, the baseball gods were once again eating cheesesteaks and drinking Yards beer down at Reading Square or whatever the hell it's called, Reading Terminal.
Reading Terminal. How dare you, sir?
I've been there. It was great. I loved it. It's fantastic. And I don't know about you, but I'm the what's the older one, Pat's or Geno's?
That's a great question. No self-respecting. No.
One where they yell at you, and if you don't get the order right, you're embarrassed and all.
They're not polite at either of them. That's very much a very similar vibe. What are you expecting? P's and Q's being minded at these establishments? Now, first off, let me just say this: no self-respecting Philadelphian goes to either of those 2 places sober and prior to 2 a.m. You know what I mean? You know, man, that's not like hey, I know what I'll do tonight for fun. Go to Patrick. No, look, melted. Never going to go down this road. Melted steak on a bun, melted cheese on a steak on a bun is delicious.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to mess that up, but both establishments will get to you a little bit.
My one trip to Philly, I went to both in the same day, which I'm sure not a lot of people do, but I wanted to try them both. We went like about midday to the first one. I went to the airport, picked up some family members that were coming to town. We went to the second one. So I was like, yeah, that's not a good idea. But nonetheless, the baseball gods did that and then some today because everything, again, was going in favor of Philly. Just, squibbers, and the umpire was just all up their ass today. Like, oh, these balls are 6 inches outside the strike zone. That's a strike. That's a strike. That's a strike. Everything was a strike to this guy. He was non-discriminating about calling strikes that were not in the strike zone. So there's another guy that needs to go on the replace with a robot umpire list because that guy was terrible.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I love robo umps. I'm all for it. Brian O'Nora was behind the plate today.
Yeah, he was awful. 2 other things about this Phillies team that were very weird to me. Very bizarre. The pitching coach looks like he could still play. Like he's like 30. What is up with that guy? Like usually the pitching coach is smoking, walking out there with a beer in his back pocket, like 60 pounds overweight. How is this? Yeah. That guy's like, he's a former player from like a year ago. And then your catcher weighs about $140. Like, what's up with that guy? It's just so
Stubby. Garrett Stubbs. First off, Garrett Stubbs.
The framer.
Oh, he is magnificent when it comes to moving that mid around, certainly. And Brian O'Nora was buying what he was selling, no doubt. But Stubbs is, I don't even know. I want to say he was like maybe 5'10", 5'8". Like he's not a big guy. But he walks out to Frank Sinatra, That's Life. And he said, you know what? I interviewed him a couple of years ago. He said, after the pandemic, we just got to deal with everything that's thrown our way. That's life, baby. And I said, you, my friend, I hope stick around here a long time. So, seems like that's where he's at. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, before we hit the break, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Nick Castellanos kind of a pill? Like, he's kind of difficult, right?
He does not suffer fools. He's on another planet. He's the type of guy, and you've been in the business long enough where you know this. You'll make a statement to lead the subject into talking more about it. It's a better way of saying, and I hate when people do this, when you go to a coach or a player and you're like, talk a little bit about what happened in the second inning there. And it's like, what am I, bang cymbals for you next, So you'll say something like, in the second inning, it looked like there was a little bit of trouble there fielding that ball.
And he'll go, and
he'll go, is that a question? And it's like, geez, come on, man. Like, the deal. But Nick Castellanos is not what we consider in Philadelphia to be like a Philly type guy. But I do believe that he's genuine. But his version of being genuine doesn't mesh well with Philly. But as long as he hits 270 like he's been doing for the last month of the season, we're cool. We're cool, man. He also referred to Scooby-Doo as his favorite superhero. And I think he's the first person to ever do that in the history of humanity.
I can't remember where I was like, why does that name ring a bell? He rubbed me the wrong way a year or two ago. I think it was the All-Star game maybe where he was doing exactly what you just described to some reporter who was just trying to get an answer to a question. And I think it was a young female reporter. He was roughing her up left, right, and center. I was like, really, dude? You just had a big moment on national TV, and this is the way you handle it? It was just like, all right.
That's him. I think to call him a pill is wildly accurate. He's very much a pill. When we come back, we'll delve a little bit more into this one as well. Lux's home run that he got in the fifth inning for your Dodgers, and I also want to talk about what went down in the sixth inning for the Phillies to be able to get some separation there in this ball game. We'll be back in a few. You're Locked On Phillies, Locked On Dodgers, postcast crossover. That's Pete Fox of Locked On Sports Los Angeles. I'm Marc Farzetta. I'll be back in a second here on Locked On Sports Crossover. Oh, you guys having yourselves a good time. You better be having yourselves a good time when it comes to the incredible, the amazing people of Stitch Fix. No lie, this shirt right here, Stitch Fix, it's great. Got it a few years ago. Got a whole bunch of others as well because Stitch Fix hooks it up. They take care of you with Stitch Fix. It's almost like the Stylist that you get. You know what they do? It's like they have ESP with that Stylist. Instant confidence. You get that instant confidence boost when it comes to the outfit that you get from Stitch Fix. The easiest way to update your wardrobe this season with professional stylists that helps you find new and on-trend favorites that will work for you. You just give your stylist your size, your style, as well as your budget preferences. And you order a box whenever you want one. No subscription required. They show up. They send 5 pieces, 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. I keep what works and I send back the rest. And if you don't like something, that's all you got to do. You just send it back. Shipping and returns and exchanges, always free. Style that makes you feel as you look. Now's the best time, by the way, to get started on StitchFix.com/MLB. That's StitchFix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's StitchFix.com/MLB for $100 off. StitchFix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids' fixes. Tax Network USA. You guys have heard us talk about this before here on Locked On Sports Philadelphia, Locked On Sports Los Angeles. We do pride ourselves on getting the latest news on your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or even the playoffs. It's year-round, really. And you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you like they went to bat for me a few years ago. In this business, you can get paychecks from different people, and you trust certain other people to take care of those taxes for you. Every once in a while, they might screw that up, and you get a nice little letter from Uncle Sam saying, give me my money. That happened to me. The professionals at Tax Network USA helped get me out of that jam. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters like myself that require tax planning, or you finally hit that parlay this season, unlike me, and you need help filing correctly, Call 1-800-549-1000. That's 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on. And make sure to mention Locked On Sports Philadelphia or Locked On Sports Los Angeles at checkout, and you'll receive $250 discount on their services. That's tnusa.com/locked on. Oh, my goodness gracious. What a game this was tonight. What a series this was for the Philadelphia Phillies. And just for the Phillies fans watching right now, Pete, I got to say it. You walk into Citizens Bank Park and you feel the electricity. To say that about a game in July, albeit the Dodgers, albeit Shohei Ohtani, I think a lot of this had to do with kind of welcoming the Phillies back after dropping 2 or 3 to the Braves and getting back on track. Seeing Trey Turner get his 6th home run of the month of July, seeing Brandon Marsh homer a second time in as many games, Kyle Schwarber homering for the second time in this series as well. That helped get people up. For me, walking into it, it slaps you in the face when you walk into that stadium in South Philadelphia, the vibes down there. So credit to the Phillies fans for making it as fun, and it certainly came through my television while following this series.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Philly fans show up, whether it's for their team or to yell at the other team outside of their hotel. They're there. There's no doubt that they are committed. I will say, though, that they get a bad rap. When I was there, it was right before the Super Bowl when the Eagles were in it 5-6 years ago.
When they won.
I think so, yeah. It was before the Super Bowl. I was at just some random bar by myself having a beer, and I just sat down next to a guy with a Eagles jersey on, started chatting him up. He was real friendly. He wasn't the typical Philly fan. He didn't start yelling at me or cussing at me for no reason. So I was like, wow, maybe all that's just a made up figment of our imagination. It's just, blown out of proportion or whatever. And on to more important things real quick, Mark. Timothy B has pointed out that there are, and I've heard this before, that there are many other much better places that make cheesesteaks in Philly than Pat and Gino's. But hey, I was a tourist. It was my first time there. I had to go experience that.
Forgivable.
Digging around. And then we found out also that Pat's is the older one, 1933, with all the rude kids.
Well, there you go. I will say, whoever you sat next to, usually in Philadelphia, we are nice to out-of-towners. We just, as soon as we get done eating our firstborn, that's when we start being polite. So that's how we like to work things here in Philadelphia, exactly, of course.
Yeah, this guy had his Eagles jersey on over his business attire, like a tie underneath. So I think he stepped out of the office, put on his Eagles jersey, rolled over to the watering hole, had a couple of pops for lunch, and then was back to the office. I was like, that's my kind of guy right there.
One of my favorite things, I just heard this recently, Philadelphia is unique in this regard. You're not just going to be talking to some blue-collar worker, for instance, that's going to be trash-talking you. You're going to be getting trash-talked by some woman who has a Villanova law degree, and you just said Nick Foles was overrated, and she will attack you. Like, that's basically what we offer here. A wide variety. Hey, look, we talked last night about acquisitions. You talked about maybe getting starting pitching, but you did call this last night when we were talking about Knack making the start. You thought that there might be an opener bumped in front of him. Why make that decision with the Dodgers? Is Knack just struggle in the first inning, or they just like to go with the first inning opener?
Yeah, it probably has to do with analytics, and the nerds in the basement came up with something, and it was working out right up until Trey Turner hit that home run. So who knows? The Dodgers have been just bad across the board over this streak of losing 8 of their last 12. The other starters have been 0 for 6 during that stretch. Starters haven't done anything. So maybe they were trying to relieve the pressure of Knack getting the loss. And of course, true to form, Banda got the loss. So now that streak is extended. So the Dodgers are just in a bad way right now. And, that's the excuse we're going to lean on. And Dave Roberts, who doesn't normally say negative things at all, went as far as to say, this was again after the 10-1 loss. It just came out like I saw it today, but he said that it was embarrassing. And I was like, and what else? Like, yeah, obviously it was embarrassing when your starting pitcher gives up 9 runs and you lose 10-1. I mean, that's a given, but for Dave Roberts to say, hey, that performance was embarrassing and we need to be better, was something, but I don't know that it lit a fire under anyone's backside. So here we are, and the Dodgers are smelling the barn in a big way for this All-Star break. I feel like this Tigers series coming up for the weekend is perfect for them because, the Tigers aren't a very good baseball team. The Dodgers, for their misgivings of late, they've beaten the teams they should beat, right? And the Tigers are a team they should beat. So they should be able to go in there and win 2 of 3 and go into the All-Star break at least with a positive thought in their mind, take the 4 or 5 days off, and hopefully maybe, get a little bit healthier, get back on track, get rid of the cobwebs. I don't know. Listen, we talked during the Milwaukee series. Anytime you play Milwaukee, because they do such weird things with their pitching staff, the Oral Hershiser comment was, what about having he came up with some term, mega relievers that come in and pitch 3 innings every 3 days or something, as opposed to 1 inning every day, right? And I was like, you look at this Dodger team right now, yeah, that's something that they're going to have to do. They're going to get their whole bullpen, and they're going to have maybe 1 or 2 starters, and then everybody else is going to be on a 2 or 3, leash rope. Like, go out there and give me 2 or 3, because that's what I need from you, because I don't have any other option. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens after the All-Star break with the starting pitching, because they are banged up beyond belief, and the starting pitchers that they do have not been good over the last 12 games. So I think the All-Star break will be helpful to the guys that are healthy and the guys that are banged up as well. So it's coming at a really good time for the Dodgers.
Before we get to our next break, I do want to shout out James Hoffman here, who, listen to this. This guy is a Philly guy, all right? He's now living in the UK. He can say there's no place like sports in Philadelphia. Fly, Eagles, fly. Hashtag Phillies, love the fan, city, etc. James is a regular contributor on the program, so great to have him here as well. Real quick on starting pitching as well, I got to give a lot of credit again to Aaron Nola tonight. He dropped in a knuckle.
Fantastic. He was unhittable practically.
His pitch count was high. He struggled in the first inning, struggled in the second inning. He had, I think, 50. No, excuse me. He had 45 pitches, I think it was, in the first 2 innings. So they made him work for it. But he faced Ohtani twice in the first 2 innings. Faced him in the first inning, obviously. Got him to fly out to right field. And then the second time, on 4 pitches, got him to swing over top that knuckle curve that he's been using this season more than any other pitch as his put-away pitch. And then continued to cruise. Got him in the 5th inning again, that time on a fastball. And then, you saw him go up against Strahm again in the 7th inning, and Strahm got him the ground out to second base. You had mentioned about Ohtani just kind of pulling out at certain times, kind of opening up his hips a little too much. It certainly looked like he was trying to make something happen, maybe pressing at the plate against his Phillies pitching staff.
His pitch selection has just been terrible lately. And that goes for the Dodgers across the board, honestly. I mean, you can't find a guy that was up there working the count and fouling balls off and waiting on good pitches. It was bad. I mean, if I had to put, a crown on somebody that was the player of the game at the plate, I don't know who it would be. I guess Gavin Lux, because he had a home run, which he was, a day and a half late on, and somehow made contact and hit it to the smallest part of the park. Like, that ball, how does that ball get out? I mean, it was like an inch from being foul. And so Gavin Lux had a decent game at the plate, but everyone else was just up there flailing away, phoning it in, not working the count, not grinding. I've complained a lot lately about the Dodgers, and we got to hit the break. So let me do this real quick. I've complained a lot about the Dodger pitchers throwing too many fastballs in hitters counts, and they turn into home runs. Again, tonight, 2 of the 3 home runs, fastballs over the middle, just 4-seamers down Main Street. The Marsh home run and the Trey Turner home run, fastballs, hitters counts over the plate. To me, that's not a mechanical error. That's a mental error. Stop throwing so many damn fastballs in hitters counts over the plate. It just, the opponents seem to be waiting and feasting on those fastballs. And it's really been bad for the Dodgers of late. Yes. So to whoever who commented, I need a box of Kleenex, buddy Christ. You're right. I do. I'm just crying in my bourbon over here. After this performance, I could use a cheesesteak and what was the beer?
Yards, Yingling.
There you go. Yingling. Yeah.
Oh, Yingling's nice. Yeah.
Yingling's great.
Awesome. All right, brother. Let's do the break, and we'll be back and take a look at where the Dodgers are headed, where the Phillies are headed before the All-Star break hits. That's Pete Fox right there of Locked On Sports Los Angeles. I'm Marc Farzetta of Locked On Sports Philadelphia.
All right, tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast, Locked On Phillies Postcast, brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, with summer travel heating up, people are traveling all over the world. And guess what? Booking.com can help you with all of that, even if you decide to travel to your baseball team's rival city. Now, I don't know that the Dodgers and Phillies are rivals, but if you think they are and you've got a desire to go to Philly, I highly recommend it. It's a fun city. And I as much as the fans can be a-holes, for the most part, it's kind of a bad rap. I really think they get a bad rap ultimately because I had a good experience when I was there in Philadelphia. Fun city, lots to do. But if you want to stay local and say San Diego would be your choice, that's awesome too. You got the gas lamp, you got Petco overlooking, or the hotels overlooking Petco. There's just a lot to see. Hotels, beds and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival's city. From hotels that overlook stadiums, as I mentioned, Petco Park, family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this Major League Baseball season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even if it is your rival city. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Tonight's show also brought to you by Game Time. Killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. The thing I love is that view from the seat feature. So if you're trying to save a little bit of money and maybe one section over is cheaper, that view from the seat will show you whether or not you're going to be disappointed. And it's awesome. They're also obsessed with finding you ways to save money. If you like waiting, you like running the risk, and you can wait up to like an hour before game time, you could save up to 60% on your tickets. Like, for example, this weekend, Dodgers in Detroit to face the Tigers. You can find tickets as low as $23. And if you're here in SoCal, Angel tickets against the Mariners this weekend, $6. Even though the Angels are awful, and they're probably going to get pushed around by the Mariners all weekend, the Big A is a great watch. It's a fun stadium. And for $6, you can't beat the night out with the family. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem your code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
You know, you did mention there, Pete, right before that we took the break, the home runs, and you're right. There were some cookies thrown out over the middle of the plate.
Yeah, right?
The Schwarber. I said it.
I'm too obvious with that. I'm like, no, I'm not. The Dodgers weren't getting those pitches because the Phillies were paying attention and not throwing fastballs down Main Street and hitters counts.
Who the hell did you guys have pitching in that eighth inning that gave it up to Schwarber? I don't have it. Whoever it was it Yara? Holy Stromboli. That was a 70
out with deception. That's his fastball. Like 82 is his fastball. So he gets people out with deception, and he's a change of pace kind of guy. But he's also one of those guys that just go out there and get us out of this, eat some innings. Let's go.
88 or no. Oh, I'm sorry. 72 miles per hour. He threw a curve on the home run. He threw the fastball on the first, then threw back-to-back curveballs, both at 72. The home run ball, similar to the home run ball that Schwarber had the other night that was away, that he belted the opposite field. This one was away as well, but he whipped the barrel of the bat around and pulled that ball to the second deck. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if they covered it on the Dodgers broadcast. A dad dropped the ball. Like, it hit him in the hands. Now, I respect him more because he did not bring a mitt. He tried to trust the old, bear claws there. And he couldn't bring it in. It looked like his oldest son started crying. And as a younger brother with an older brother, of course, I totally get it. My older brother would have cried as well. But the younger brother was having a great time with it, and they still gave him a ball. How nice is that? Everybody gets a trophy in Philadelphia.
Yeah, again, I'm telling you, Philly fans get a bad rap. That ball was a no-doubter. That was one that, without a doubt, Schwarber didn't feel coming off the bat. That was like, he didn't get one step out of the box before he knew that one was gone. I mean, that was absolutely mashed. I was like, oh my God, is that going to get out of the stadium? Is that going to end up on Broad Street or whatever it's called down there?
It's Broad Street. You got it. Where that ball was hit, it might have been on Darien, but I don't expect you to know. That's a little too specific.
Yeah, Broad Street's behind home plate, right?
Broad Street. Pattison is, let me think where I am in life. Okay. Pattison is behind and Broad Street. It's Broad and Pattison. Yeah. You won't go wrong. Yeah, you're right.
Here's a funny story. When I was there, my daughter at the time, who was just walked into the studio, was about 5 or 6. So I got her one of those Philly fanatic hats, like the green fuzzy thing, and I was gonna
wear dangle hats.
I was gonna wear that tonight, but I decided not to.
I had one in the studio for a while, and then my mom wanted to borrow it. I forget why. I think a friend of hers is a rival fan, whatever, and I've never seen it. I haven't seen it since. So, yeah, I don't have it. Hey,
here's the good news about this, Mark. This series will be renewed in less than a month, August 5th in LA. So I'm certain, I'm hoping anyway, that the Dodgers are circling it on their calendar, because if they go out and get embarrassed again the way they did in this series, it is bad. It's bad news. Now, that doesn't mean they can't still win the World Series and have a deep run in the playoffs, but you got to beat good teams, and you can't show up in their park in meaningful series at the end of the first half and just lay an egg like this. There's so many problems right now. I feel empathy and sadness for the Dodger coaching staff and Freeman and all of them, because they're just like, their head has got to be exploding. They're like, there's not one thing going right for us right now.
Is there any validity to firing Dave Roberts or Brian Roberts?
I absolutely don't believe that would be the case. They like him too much. And, here we go. I'm a fanatic today, baby.
Look at you.
For those of you listening, I have donned the Philly fanatic fuzzy hat.
Oh, right? This is a big moment in Locked On Sports crossovers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to answer your question about firing Dave Roberts, it's just not going to happen. You can't fire a guy that's won the division as many times as he has, right. 10 years in a row, been to the playoffs 11 years in a row. And the bottom line is Dave Roberts is a company man. He toes the line. The problem is when you get to the playoffs, this is a whole nother conversation, but when you get to the playoffs, you got to play with heart. You got to manage with heart and eyes and instinct, not nerds in the basement, formulating theorems and postulates and all of these other things. And that's been the problem for the Dodgers. And I think that's what gets Dodger fans really, really frustrated when stuff like this happens, is they say, well, what's going to happen when we get to October, right? If we're not playing well, and they start running all these, numbers and theories and analytics to decide who pitches and when and for how long, that's just not going to be good for them. They need to have guys that go out there that are gamers, that are gritty, and that go out there and bust their ass and want to win games. It's not like, oh yeah, you pitch right now because you're a lefty and he's a righty and you've gotten him out 3.3 times versus the other guy who's gotten him out 3.1 times. So we have a decided advantage with that 0.2. No, you don't, right? You should be able to look at it the way Bruce Bochy looks at it and says, this guy needs to pitch right now and this guy needs to hit right now, etc. So there are a lot of things that are hanging over the Dodgers' head right now that are negative. I don't ultimately think that Dave Roberts is one of them, but I think he is hamstrung by the front office, and that's been an ongoing story for a long time. I've even fallen into the fire Dave Roberts thing at the end of the season. I'm like, it is time for a change. They need a new voice in the clubhouse. They need a new message, right? Go ask Marty Schottenheimer, even though he's dead, how that feels, because that guy won 12 games and got fired right after, right? That's what the Dodgers, I feel like at times, could do, should do. But I'm back to defending Dave Roberts.
This just dawned on me. I totally forgot that you guys hired Dave Roberts over Gabe Kapler. I totally forgot that. And then Kapler came to Philadelphia. So
that's true.
I think you guys made the right decision over there on the left coast.
I think it's worked out okay so far, but I think I would rather have one more World Series and fewer division titles, right? This feels like the Braves of the 80s, and that wasn't good.
Oh, okay. That's a good comparison. Hey, who do you guys have next? What's coming up for the Dodgers?
So on to Detroit, the Motor City for tomorrow. I would be surprised if they've named a starter because I just don't think they have one. Maybe it's James Paxton. But yeah, on to Detroit tomorrow. Paxton will take on Tarek Skubal, who I've never heard of.
That's a tough matchup. He just spanked the Phillies a couple of weeks ago. Phillies are going to have a 3.
You're not kidding. Oh God.
Yeah, he's good at throwing baseballs past guys trying to hit him.
And the Dodgers are good at swinging and missing, so this might be ugly tomorrow.
Phillies are going to be opening up against another West Coast team, at least for now. We'll still do it, West Coast team. Oakland A's come to town for a 3-game series.
That's going to be a battle. Try not to win those games by 20.
You're making me feel too good. You're making me feel too good, Pete. Hey, man.
Here's how bad the A's are. The Angels suck, and the Angels are ahead of the A's. That's how bad the A's are.
That's great, brother. Hey, man, this was a blast. I really had a lot of fun. Looking forward to August now.
August 5th.
You and I can do this again. You and I can do this again in August.
And I will wear the hat at least once during the series.
Well, we have crushed it when it comes to props for a crossover postcast. I believe we now lead the league in postcast crossover props.
So I made one fan out of your Philly fan, so that's a win for me.
That man's name right there is Pete Fox. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Los Angeles, Locked On Sports Los Angeles Dodgers postcast right there with Pete Fox. And my name is Marc Farzetta. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Locked On Philadelphia Sports YouTube channel as well. That's like and subscribe for all your postcast needs. Pete, it's been real, friend.
Yes, it has, my friend. Thanks to all the everydayers, the first listen and the second listen. Gotta get those things in there real quick. Everydayers, first listen, second listen. So yeah, that's what you do with Locked On.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everyone. It's been a blast with you guys. We'll be back to your regular scheduled programs on the Phillies side of it coming up tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. See you later.
Oh God, it's freaking